evening. Welcome to the Coaching Hour. I'm your host, Khensani Chauke. It's Tuesday night, date night with me, Khensani, as we meet our new coaches each and every week and leaders where this is the place where we learn soft skills. So we learn different skills each and every week. We know that coaching, it's something that we need. So tonight I'm with my favorite coach, Chauke van Dam. She is here tonight, and tonight we are speaking about listening skills. We all know that listening is a skill. Let's meet Coach Chauke. Hi, Coach. How are you? Good evening. Welcome to the show.
So nice to be back. Thank you for the invitation, Khensani. Listening is so important. I was like, today I was a conversation coach for a large company, and we had to really listen to what 10 people are saying and then play it back to them. And, you know, it's really exhausting to sit with that level of responsibility, but you need to take it very seriously as a coach, and especially when it's part of a training coaching solution.
Most definitely, Coach. That's so true. Thank you so much for accepting the invitation again. We missed you so much. We've learned a lot. If you don't know who Coach Chauke is, she will introduce herself shortly. But what we know about her, she is emotional intelligence advocate. So I know that she's someone who loves what emotional intelligence can do, which listening skills connect to that, because you need to have self-awareness when it comes to emotional intelligence skills, and then to know and understand what listening is. Are we really listening each and every day? Do we pay attention? Do we commit to listen to other people? Are we responding clearly, or are we responding to the message that we receive, or we just listening to respond all the time? Because most of the people, they have this skill, I call it a skill of listening and responding in the same time, or listening and thinking at the same time. Do you have a listening skill? So Coach Chauke is going to take us through the listening skills today. She's going to teach us what listening skill is. Where can we improve as leaders? Where can we improve as individuals? As we work with people, are we listening to them? Are we listening to our children? So now is the time. Kindly go and grab your coffee, your notebook, and your pen, and let's hear from Coach Chauke. Coach, kindly introduce yourself.
Khensani, thank you so much. So I'm Chauke van Dam, and what my company Y Connect does is we create meaningful workspaces for leaders and teams. And how we go about this is helping leaders and teams understand what is their purpose and how do they fit into the bigger puzzle pieces of the business. And then we help them grow their confidence, we help them grow their influence, we cultivate a growth mindset, which is something that you really focus on in this show. With the soft skills, it's having that growth mindset, realizing you're not great at everything. Where can you grow? Where has there been mistakes and failures? And then ultimately getting teams in flow. And one of the areas that we do that is through communication skills. So listening falls into that category. In the past, you and I spoke about emotional intelligence. So I do that as well. Negotiation skills, time management, planning, motivation, self-actualization. So I do a lot of work with teams and leaders, but I also work with individuals to empower them to become great at confidence, communication, and even winning tenders and pitches. So wide variety of things I focus on. But for today, we're falling into the communication bracket. And if you want to be able to listen well, you can influence well, because it's the person that listens the best that's able to actually understand where the other person's coming from, so that you can then influence them. It's not the person that's speaking the most.
Most definitely. And another thing that I know is that good listening is the easiest way to connect with people. So you won't be able to connect with others if you cannot listen to them. So yeah, I do agree when you're saying that, you need to know how to listen and teach yourself, because it's a skill that you can develop if you want to. And coach, while we're still there, what is the difference between active listening and passive listening?
So passive listening is just when you are hearing. So your child or a colleague or someone kind of walk into your office, or someone is phoning you, and you could just hear what they're saying. So you're taking it in, but you're not really listening to what they're saying. So when you're really listening, it's about, so like right now, I can, because you're on camera, so besides the people that might just be listening, even if they're listening on the Facebook or on the live radio, now I can actually look at your body language. I can look at your facial expressions. I can look at, are you looking away? Are you turning your body away? I can also listen to your tone of voice. So active listening is actually listening holistically, like looking at the bigger picture. You're not just listening to what you're saying, but also to what you're not saying. And it's being present. It's being here in the moment, where I'm just here with you. So I'm not focusing on my Facebook, my email, having multiple browsers open. I have the intention to say right now, I'm in an interview with you. I'm going to give my full attention to you. Well, what most people do, so in my training where I speak about listening skills, a lot of people do selective listening. So I'll just pick up a word or a phrase here or there. So I might say, active versus passive. I just heard those two words, but I didn't understand that it was actually about listening. I could go off on an entire tangent and not bring it back to communication or the aim of soft skills that you want to impart on people. So if you're just picking small little phrases, you could miss the entire message of what someone is saying.
Yeah, that's so true. That's so true. Why do people find listening so hard?
Because we want to be in control, and we prefer speaking, because if we're speaking, then we feel like, so let's say it's a meeting, you can get your point across quicker. Let's say I went to a small business networking event the other, like 2 weeks in a row, and there was this speed networking. So are you just the person that wants to very quickly influence the other person and just like slam them with everything that your business is about? Or are you going to go with key questions to understand their challenges or what their business is about, where their struggles are, and looking at, is there something you could help with, or someone in your network? Now you're actually getting to a point where you're caring. So when you listen, you can coach and steer the conversation. Well, if you're just speaking, you're not actually, you're trying to control and dominate it from your side. And often extroverts tend to dominate and feel like, I see it in family relations. It's almost like the person that starts speaking the loudest, and they just want to domineer, and they like, you want to start a question and then they just start talking faster and louder, and you're like, I want to say something. So yeah. I don't know if you've ever had that.
Yes. I know exactly what you're talking about. And it's always like, when will this person just be quiet for a moment? And sometimes it's like they know everything. And let's say if we are in a boardroom, you end up not contributing to what you should because of somebody is forever talking, and you don't even see the need of you being there. Why am I here anyway if I won't be able or given a chance to say something? So yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
But you are a skilled facilitator. So as the facilitator in that session, it's about noticing what voices aren't being heard. Who are the the people like my husband, he's an introvert, but he's very proud. So he's not going to speak over someone. Where the extroverts will just like speak over people while he will wait his turn. But if you're never going to give that person a turn, you're just not going to hear their voice. And very often the introverts actually have the best opinions.
And it's important, especially as a skills development facilitator. You cannot speak forever. You need to make sure that everybody is in the same room with you. They do understand what you're doing. They do follow. Because speaking alone and just moving, maybe you lost them at chapter 1 and now you're at chapter 6. Once you start asking questions, they don't even know what you're talking about because you are the only person who's talking in class, or you're the only person who's talking in a meeting. So it's very important just to make sure that they follow you, they understand you. Like that's normally what I do. Like whenever I start working, I want to make sure that everybody has a voice, because I don't want to leave anybody behind, because we know that we have different learners. So you need to understand what kind of learners you have and what pace you should use, because speaking and being fast and all that, at the end of the day, you lose everybody.
Yeah.
They hear you, they can see that you're speaking, but they can't hear you. They're not listening to you. So yeah, it's very important.
And what you find, I don't know if you found this, if you're having a business meeting, if someone drones on, it's so hard to stay with them, because a human's attention span is actually quite short. So your responsibility when you speak to people is trying to speak almost like in sound bites. Cut it down, make it shorter. Don't drone on for 3 minutes or 5 minutes at a time. No one's going to be able to listen that long. And that's where, like where you were saying with the active listening, let's say I was listening to you. If I'm trying to grasp what you're saying, it's about actually checking in with you if I got what you were saying, so that's where the checking in, which you were saying with the training side, really comes in a meeting, on a meeting level as well. So much can go over your head. It's really important to check if you actually understand what the person is saying.
Okay, so will you say pace is also important?
Yeah, definitely. So rapport, when you want to build rapport with a person, so let's say in a meeting or a friend or whoever, if you are speaking at a fast pace and if I speak now at a very slow pace, we're out of rapport, we're out of rhythm with each other. So you need to, in general, match the pace of the other person, and immediately you will get into sync with each other. So try to see how can you get into that same pace. But when you tend to speak slower, people can actually take it in better. Because I know if I get nervous, I speak really fast, and then half of it, maybe also because of accent or pronunciation, can go over a person's head. They might not really get it. And then people are very shy and they feel very proud. They don't always want to say to you, do you mind repeating that? But I've learned that if you really care for the person on the other side, and for a second or 10 seconds your mind was drifting, rather ask them to summarize what they said, because you actually care enough to get the real message versus just nodding your head. I get what you're saying, and then actually you're lying. Okay?
Yeah. We all do that all the time. And the other thing with me is, like, when I'm nervous, when I'm very nervous, I will I tend to speak too fast, and like my pronunciation, I miss, so you won't understand what was she trying to say.
Me too. Me too. Yeah.
And it's something that I now I'm aware of it, that you know what, sometimes you just need to relax and be yourself, because the more you try, I don't know what is it that I'm trying, but one thing that I know is that when I'm nervous, I also miss my lines. I will prepare and say, okay, I'm going to start here. But as soon as maybe the camera is on or I'm in front of the boardroom and I need to address the meeting, then I'm losing my lines. I'm pronouncing words very wrong. It's like I'm more comfortable speaking behind the camera or face to face. I think I become more relaxed and also over the phone. I'll be myself, but I don't know what happens more when I stand in front of people and also when I stand in front of the camera. That's when I start missing my lines and I speak too fast. And at the end of the day, I was like, why? Because you're not too fast. Why are you speaking too fast now? Then I became aware that it's out of nervousness. Once I become nervous, my tone changes, I become faster and I lose some of my lines, some of my pronunciations of words. It's like I don't know what I'm saying. But at the end of the day, it's something that one can be aware of and try to improve, because we need practice to be able to improve in certain things that we do. So I'm well aware of that part, and I'm working on it to improve it. So I know
I have a little hack for you if you want. So one of the things that I do, so I know this is not listening related, this is talking related, but I'm actually tomorrow giving a presentation boot camp. And one of the things that I always say to people, I do a lot of webinars. So last week I was doing one on leadership lessons from Top Gun. And what I do is I'll do different ways of rehearsing. So one of the things I'll do is I will rehearse it speaking into my phone. So I'll make a sound clip so I can listen to what does my voice sound like. Like you were saying with tone, do I sound confident? How does this sound? What is the pronunciation right? Am I speaking too fast? Am I speaking too slow? But also what it does is when you hear it, on an auditory level, you can remember it better than if it's just written down. And then what I also do, like next level, is I'll go on Zoom and record myself. So I'll pretend that I'm doing the actual thing. And it's like a lot of nerves happens when you do it. But when you force yourself to go through those rehearsals on your own, no one else sees it, you're actually getting through your worst nerves, and you actually get to give yourself feedback on like what's working, what's not working in terms of camera and that. So what happens on a brain level is by the time you're then now going live on camera, your brain says to you, you've already done it a few times, so the loops have been set in your brain, and then the confidence can just kick in. But I think what I've seen is I'm often just very lazy. I'll prepare the things in writing, but I won't go through the rehearsal. But when you push through those nerves and you force yourself to make the recording, do the voice recording, watch it back, you'll actually see, you actually become much more confident when you're then live with the people. Then it's actually much, much, much easier for you. So, I was emceeing an event the other day, and I spoke to one of the organizers that also had to do a bit about the sponsorship and talking about the event. And I sent him my MC script, and I said to him, this is how I rehearse. And he said, hell no, he doesn't want to rehearse. He just gets too nervous. And I thought, that's the worst thing that you want to say. You need to press through your own nerves and rehearse, so that when you're there, you can be amazing. So it actually forces you to get your script much better and tighter than if you are just winging it, even if it's just written down. So that's just one of the things that I've found that really, really helps me quite a bit.
Yeah, most definitely. Most definitely. So what happens when we listen?
So there's this book. I don't know if you've read it, Khensani. It's written by Chris Voss. It's called Never Split the Difference. He's a FBI hostage negotiator. And what Chris Voss says is the FBI, when they have a terrorist, okay, so terrorist has hostages, it's usually at a bank or somewhere. what he learned to do is they would be about a minimum of 3 FBI negotiators listening at the same time to the conversation, because usually it was through a phone, sometimes it was through a door. And they would ask questions and actually get the terrorist or whoever is holding the people to say what their terms are, where are they at, what's important to them, and just get them to speak. And what you find is when you show empathy to another person and you put yourself in their shoes and you understand what they are going through, immediately what happens is our brains also get in sync. So it calms the other person down. So one time he said he was literally listening to this terrorist through a door for about 10 hours. Can you imagine that? So I think he had to take breaks at times to go to the bathroom, and they brought him food and, and after a while, the terrorist just came out and surrendered, and they didn't have to pay any money or whatever, and the hostages were fine. And he said, why did you come out? Because that guy didn't actually even speak. He was just there. But he calmly spoke to him in a way, reassuring him that everything was going to be fine. And he actually calmed down the guy so that he ultimately said, he said a few things to him, which he mirrored back to him. And his brain just calmed down. So when you're looking at when we negotiate with a person, when you are going on a date, when you're speaking to a person, if you're in a marriage, couples fight all the time. But when your partner is upset, do you actually ask them what's going on? What changes can I bring? What is upsetting you? Or do you just ignore them and run out of the room? Or do you actually sit down and really listen to what they're saying and commit to making those changes? So what happens is immediately the brain goes out of fight and flight mode and it goes into rapport, and that's where bonding and relationships take place. So they say, one of the authors that I love, Celeste Headley, she speaks a lot about brain science, and she says, if I talk to you and you say to me, like, let's say we've had a bad run, and if you speak to me, but I see you face to face and you tell me that you're really sorry, and I can see that in your face, that it's really hard for you, it actually activates the emotional response in the brain, which allows the person that's seeing that to their emotional center also gets activated, which means that they can then feel bad for you that's struggling to say that you're sorry and what happened, and then they're actually able to forgive you. While if you're just doing it over a text or an email, none of that happens. There's nothing that happens in the brain. So if it's really hard for a person, I'm sure it can also happen over the phone, where a person can really hear, and you're getting into that level of empathy. So listening builds relationships, but it creates those mirror neurons that can get a person to feel, to feel that you're feeling with this person, and it creates that level of trust where relationships kind of get stronger, where you can do business together, where you can have meaningful marriages. So it really calms a person down and creates ultimate rapport. And M. Scott Peck says, when you really listen and I put myself in your shoes, it allows me to set aside my own opinion. And so M. Scott Peck says, true listening means a setting aside of oneself, setting aside your own opinion, to really zone in on what you are saying and what you are going through. So ultimately, you will feel a level of trust with the person that's listening to you, and it will build your relationship.
Wow. There was this other day, my daughter was trying to tell me something, and I was busy on my laptop, and she was like, Mommy, you're looking at me, but you're not listening to what I'm saying, And she was correct. She was correct. She ended up saying, take off your glasses. Like now she wants to look straight into my eyes and get my attention. And I was like, even kids can even feel. They can even feel if you're not listening. They can see it, that this person is looking at me, but they're not listening to what I'm saying. And how they pick up those mostly is the questions that you ask, you not being surprised. And like, I don't remember exactly what we were talking about, because she said, you're saying okay, you are saying okay. She knows that whatever she said, it's something that I wouldn't agree with. So that's why she was so surprised and said, no, mommy, you're looking at me, but you're not listening to what I'm saying, because of the response I gave her. She knows that whatever that she said, I wouldn't have said okay, according to her knowledge. So now I'm saying okay. So she wants to understand I'm saying okay from
Yeah.
what? What is okay about what she's saying?
It's not really okay.
It's not really okay. So now I've learned that whatever that I'm doing, I need to commit, because listening, again, it's a choice. It's a choice to listen to those who are trying to talk to you. And how you practice that is when somebody, let's say I'm busy with my phone and somebody is saying something to me, I put a phone away or a laptop away or whatever that I'm doing and give them full attention. So it means I'm committing to the conversation. Let me listen to what you're saying. And how you will know that I'm listening, it will be through questions or the agreement that we should have during the conversation. It's very important. I remember once when I was listening to your interview with another radio station, and I was like, this is something that I really need to practice, especially as a mom, because I want people to listen to me. Do I listen to them? If I want everybody to listen to me as an individual, do I really pay attention? Do I really commit to conversation to listen? Do I pay attention to what they are trying to tell me? So it's something that is very, very important. Like listening is a skill, and active listening, it doesn't matter what you do, but people can pick up when you are listening and also when you're not listening to them.
I want to add something. I don't know if you know Amy Cuddy. So tomorrow I'll be training on some of her things, but she has a book out that she wrote a few years ago about presence. And that's really what this is about, is when you are with someone, are you present? Are you choosing to be there and engage with them, or are you somewhere else? So many people that I know, they might be having an amazing time with their family, or they're on vacation, or but what they do is they're so stuck in the past or in the future, or stuck in their worries, they can't feel the sun on their skin. They can't enjoy the beach. They can't enjoy the music. They can't enjoy that food. They're just wolfing it down. They're not present with the environment. So that's really to do with mindfulness. It's like, are you noticing? That's the sounds, the feelings. So when you're present with your daughter, you're literally, you're choosing to look at her, but you're also taking in everything around her, the facial expressions, the body language. And I like what you were saying. You were limiting distractions. You were putting the phone away. So what you do with your body language is you're actually instructing your body that you want to listen to this person. So by putting those things away, turning to them, you're also limiting distractions for yourself. But I wanted to say to you, Khensani, what I had to learn from my husband is you're not going to be able to listen all of the time, but what you need to do with your kids and your clients and whoever is to communicate when is a good time to talk about serious things. If you are in the middle of doing something really important, say to them, I just need to finish this, and then I'm going to grab a cup of coffee, meet me on the couch, and then we're going to talk. So can you actually create times? Because I would, when I started dating my husband, we talk to him about all of, I'm a blabbermouth, all of these important things while we're driving in the car. And then he had to, at a stage, say to me, he can't listen to me while he's driving. He has to concentrate. So if it's really important, he'll say to me, don't talk to me while I'm driving. I am not going to be able to take it in. So you need to almost otherwise set appointments for specific, like ask yourself, what will be the ideal setting for you to be able to listen, whether it's your husband, your child, your client. That's why we set meetings with people, so that we can go to the bathroom beforehand, grab our coffee, have water ready, so we can be able and present to listen. You've now set that time aside. Yeah.
Wow, Coach, that's awesome. You know what? I'm going to take that. It's noted. I'll also create time to listen, because sometimes I can see that they will get frustrated and angry at times because I have deadlines that I need to finish, and they also need a little bit of attention, and I'm trying to do both at the same time. But however, it's not working. It's not working because at the end of what I'm doing, I don't remember exactly what they said to me. And to them, it shows that no, mommy is not present whenever I have to say 1, 2, 3. So it's very important to make time. I'll do that. That, you know what, guys, let mommy finish this, and then after, let's sit down and talk about it. Because sometimes we want to multitask. We want to do everything at the same time, and it's not working for them, because in most cases, we don't listen to understand. We listen to respond. At the end of the day, we didn't even get exactly what the child was saying. And it's not only with children, it's everybody, like your friends, your family. Whenever they're talking, because of you busy, you just listen to respond instead of listening to understand what they say. So it's very, very important to make time and talk about stuff. So I'm noting that. I'll start using that from tonight, because I haven't seen them. I haven't seen them since I came back. So I know they have a lot to say, and yeah, I'll make time for them and then continue with my work later, because sometimes it's so hard to stay away from the phone, to stay away from the laptop. You want to do both, like I said. Like in the morning, you're busy, like when they taking a bath, preparing lunch boxes or preparing clothes and that. So, it's a traffic in the morning. Everybody's doing their own thing. And, yeah, we end up not saying important things to each other. This other day, my boy forgot to... I think I was busy when he left. And then when he came back from school, I was like, how was your day? He was like, no, I had a horrible day. I was like, why? And then he said, you didn't kiss me in the morning. Oh, my goodness. Oh.
Shame.
And when he said that, I was like, what happened? I wanted to know what happened at school. And then, no, the problem was me. So it means the whole day he was asking himself, why didn't I get a kiss from mommy this morning? And she was there. It's not like she wasn't at home. She was there. But because mommy was busy with the phone and all that, she didn't even give... I didn't even give my son a kiss. So yeah, those are other things. So now, I've realized that before bedtime, if I need to do something work related, I try not to. And in the morning, if I receive a call while they're still home, I avoid it so that I can see them going and then attend to my own stuff. But when they come back from school, I will be busy with my own stuff. Whatever they want to say, I'll be trying to multitask and all that. But you made me realize that it's definitely wrong, because at the end of the day, I won't be heard and they won't be heard also. So it's important to be present or schedule a time and say, you know what, let's talk about this before bedtime and all that. And kids, when they have something in their hearts, they want to talk about it now. Let's discuss this now before I forget. And once they
but it's funny. It's something that a lot of companies try to implement, is they implement focus times. So if you had to schedule specific times in your day where you're just going to focus, and you even communicate that to them. So my husband used to joke when they were in the office a lot. They would literally put up like a little green flag next to their desk when they were available for comments or whatever, and otherwise they would put up a red flag. So if you could close the door and put a busy outside, or, open door means can come in. So like where there's kind of like specific rules of engagement, but where you're also giving yourself just sprints to focus on your work, and it will teach them delaying gratification, which is about, you first need to do your homework before this. So like they will have to be able to learn to say, like, they can't always instantly get that satisfaction. They need to hold it until that time,
Most definitely. And I have another question. How can we improve our listening skills as leaders?
So as leaders, what you can do is you can learn to ask open-ended questions. So people won't always volunteer talking, especially the introverts, but when you go around, let's say whether it's a Teams meeting or a Zoom's meeting or in person, and you're giving everyone a chance to speak. So I'll say, I would like everyone to tell us how their last week went, starting with Khensani, and then after, you each have 30 seconds or whatever, but you're giving every person a chance to speak, and you're asking open-ended questions. So you're not giving a complicated question, you're asking questions like how, what, where, when, why, what. So my model is called the Hotel and 5 Whiskeys, which is the how, who, what, where, when, why, what. If you use those questions, that's what journalists use to pull out any information, in an interview. So when you make it an easy question, it allows the person to actually think. So start having better questions, and then you will be able to get people to talk so you can listen. And also then notice that if you're really listening, you don't have to repeat back to them what they're saying, but you can ask questions based on their answers, so you can delve deeper. So Chris Foss says you can maybe repeat the last three words back to them and delve deeper into that. So let's say you were talking about your daughters. I would say you're multitasking. What type of multitasking? What type of multitasking do you see yourself doing, Khensani? Now I'm going back to what you said, but I'm making you think. But you can answer that.
Okay, my multitasking will be attending a meeting, maybe cooking at the same time, and helping with homework. So I will want to do 3 at once. And remember, when you're listening in a meeting, you have to take notes. You need to listen to your children, and maybe you cooking, something is in the oven and all that. So that's multitasking that I'm talking about. Oh, I'm busy typing a message, or I want to respond to your message, or I want to respond to a certain email that is needed now. And yeah, I will want to do everything at once. And one thing that I know, to be honest with you, that I'm aware of is multitasking doesn't mean you are productive. And because of most of people who multitask, they get a lot of things wrong because you're not attending one thing at a time. You just want to do everything at the same time and do it wrong. And your goal will be that my tasks are finished, but at the end of the day, you didn't do them right. So it's something that I'm lately aware of, that multitasking doesn't mean that I'm productive or proactive. I'm just messing up a lot of things when I'm trying to do everything at once.
What they say on a brain level, what happens, it's as if you have multiple browsers open on your computer, and your computer goes really slow. if you have millions of browsers open at the same time. And what your brain does is it has those open, but it has to switch. So I often hear this thing called context switching. So especially people in IT really struggle with it. So they'll be working on something really important, and then suddenly the project manager will call and say, no, drop that. There's the support call. Now they need to switch that off and start looking into the support call, go into that. It takes you almost like 50% longer time to get back to what you were doing versus if you were just focusing on that. So if you can rather, like they say, eat the frog, prioritize and see what's the most important, top 3 things I need to get done. Where do I hate the most? What will, even if I don't like it, take me the furthest in my business or productivity if I do that? And start doing that when you have the most energy. So you get that thing done that you never want to do. And you're focusing on that. Because what we do is we'll start with it, then we get bored because we don't like it. Now we jump to social media, we go on lunch, we cook, we do all of these things, and we're distracting ourselves. And then you keep on, it takes you like a week and you're still not done with that task. And then you miss the deadline and you're mad at yourself. But it was because you don't enjoy it. So you procrastinate by doing other things, and should be like pressing through to say, I really don't like it. This is my frog that I'm going to eat. I'll reward myself when I'm done with it. Let me not put too many frogs on one plate. I need to also put other tasks that are more enjoyable so that I can do that, but then at least have lighter things to do in the day, not just really hard things, because you only have so much capacity of brain power in a day. So you need to think what am I going to enjoy as well as a reward after doing this,
Yeah. Shoot, time
child
flies,
psychology.
Eh?
It's like child psychology on ourselves, hey?
And most definitely. We are going to the end of our show, but I still have 2 more questions for you.
Cool, sneak them in. Do it.
So this question is, what are some tips you can give our listeners to tune on their listening ear? The tips that you can give us. And the other question, maybe you can answer them both. Why is rapport so important in our relationships?
So we spoke a little bit about rapport already, saying when you really listen, you're getting into that emotional level of a person where they feel trust. And remember what I was saying with the FBI hostage negotiator, when he was really listening to that person through the door, the guy actually came out and he was like, I just felt a sense of trust with you. So when we really listen, we create rapport, we get in rhythm with a person, and it really creates meaningful relationships. So that's where, you're going to have longer lasting marriages, happier kids, better business relationships. Okay. And then listening wise, how do you tune into that? What you were also saying earlier is don't multitask. So commit to who am I listening to? Set time aside for conversations. Brief people on when is the best time for them to come and speak to you. Let them know when you're available and when you're not. So create focus times for yourself, but also then ask those open-ended questions which can allow the person to actually speak. And then stop your own conversation in your head and just focus on that person. Observe their body language, listen to their tone of voice, and just be there and be present. And then just follow the ripples. Ask questions related to what they're saying so that you can actually get deeper into what they're saying. Because people tend to start very shallow, but actually it's a deep thing. So you need to delve through the shallow to get to the level of trust where they can really say to you what the issue is. And that's where only when they really trust you will they tell you what is needed to resolve that conflict or whatever it might be. But ultimately, listening can be your superpower to retain your staff, to win business deals, and to have great marriages or relationships. So go out there and listen well.
Wow, most definitely. We learned a lot, coach, especially me. I've learned a lot because, like, my job as a mom requires me to have a good listening skills. As a leader, I need a good listening skill. As a facilitator, I need a good listening skills. So if I don't apply and practice like things that I learn each and every day, it means I won't improve. And sometimes you will find that you become selective to what you want to listen to. And at the end of the day, it's not really a good habit because of you need to listen to everything and to everyone who's talking to you and make sure that you pay attention to what they're saying, because like you said in the beginning that listening has different elements. Some you can listen looking at the person, the posture, the tone, looking into their eyes, the body language, and all that. So it's very important that when we listen to understand what another person is saying, and we listen to hear the message, because sometimes we listen to just respond to the person. And few things that you said, I've made notes of some of the things from what you had, even though I didn't write them as you said them, but I've learned that active listening is it involves non-verbal communication. That was number one. Active listening involves verbal communication. Number three was active listening involves responding to what somebody just said. Right. And then the last one, I said, keep the focus on them and let them talk. Like you started in the beginning, that sometimes if you don't let people talk, they won't say anything. You will just ask them, do you understand? They will say, yes, we understand, because you're not giving them a platform to express or to say whatever they want to say. So those were my 4 pointers that I've learned from Coach Yoga. If you have, as a listener or as a viewer, you have pointers that you took, you can also share them on the comment section. Let's hear what is it that you took from the lesson that Coach just taught us now. Did we keep the focus on what he was saying, or we were also cooking? I know this time of the night everybody's busy cooking and preparing, you're on the road and all that. But what is it that you learned about listening skills? Coach, I know some of our viewers are new here. Kindly, where can they reach you before we close the show?
They can go on my website at y-connect.biz. y-connect.biz, and you'll find all my social media, YouTube channel, all of that to engage with. And there's a lot of blog articles that you can go and read.
Wow, thank you so much. And you spoke about a book earlier. Can you please share the link on the comment section?
Definitely.
I will also like to go through it. So, Coach, anything you like to say about the listening skills for the last time, so that the ones who missed you earlier can just hear what is it that we spoke about before you leave?
No one ever listened their way out of a job, out of a marriage, or out of a relationship. So listening can really be your superpower, and just realize that the average person talks 2.25 words a minute, but we can listen up to 500 words a minute. So you are filling in your head with at least 225 words. So if you really want to be present and listen to a person and not shout barely related sentences to each other, you need to shut off your own thoughts and be present and really listen to what the other person's saying. And in that way, you can really get to what they're saying, verbally, non-verbally, but also to what they're not saying. So when your daughter responded and said, "Mommy, you weren't surprised," it was feedback, and at least you heard that. But sometimes a person could be heard and they could just keep quiet, and they could stonewall and run into their cave and not tell you what's wrong, but it was because you weren't listening. So notice the behaviors of people around you. Possibly people could be upset because you're not actually listening to them, and it can drastically change your relationships around. Reach out to me if you need any help with listening or conflict skills, and I would be more than willing to help you.
Wow, thank you, Coach. Guys, she spoke more about PP, which is practice. We need to practice because it's a skill that we can learn and improve on. And another P, it's present. Practice and be present. For you to listen, you need to be present because you won't be listening if you're not present. Like, and the other people will notice, like I said earlier on with my daughter who said, Mama, you're looking at me, but you're not listening to me. So she was able to see that no, from the response that I got, I don't think this woman heard what I said. And it happens a lot. It happens with our colleagues. It happens with partners that we have. It happens with everybody that you work with. So it's very important that whatever you do, make sure that you always listen, and it will also help you because at the end of the day, you will know the right questions to ask because you were paying attention and you were also listening. So this is the end of our show. And Coach, just give us one word of encouragement before you leave us tonight.
Don't listen with the intent to respond. Listen with the intent to understand.
Wow. So true. Most definitely. It's one thing I've learned, that one I've learned it. I was aware that I'm listening to respond instead of listening to understand what has been said. So thank you so much, Coach, for coming through and for your time. I really appreciate and I'm humbled by your presence, and good luck for tomorrow's training and all the best until we see each other again. And we're still waiting for more skills development that you do. I know you do a lot of things, and we will invite you again so that we can get some lessons like this. And thank you so much. Thank you, listeners, for coming through. If you need any help from Coach Yoga, please make sure that you leave your details on the comment. And she also gave out her email address, and she will also leave it on the comment sections. Then you can contact her. She will be able to help you. So whether you have your own company, you want to upskill your own people, she will do the same. So just reach out to her. She will be able to help you. Good night from me. I love you so much, guys. Take care of yourself, eat well, and until we see each other next week, Tuesday night, from me, Khensani, good night. Coach, thank you so much, and good night, and have a lovely week and enjoy.